Hey everyone, One's Bitten here at Game 5 of the Southern Assault 2012 tournament in Charlotte, North Carolina. I find myself at the winner's table, which whenever I've done well at tournaments, I always kind of feel lucky because I look back at my games and look at one or two things that could have gone differently and would have really swung it. So I feel very fortunate to be here. I'm in second or third place in total battle points. The opponent I'm facing, I know, is in first place and by a lot. So he's been on table one for several games. I'm usually playing right next to him on table two, and I've seen him just crushing people left and right. So yeah, not really looking forward to facing a Demon Leadership Bomb army. It's my least favorite build in the game. I've only played it once, in fairness, so I'm relatively inexperienced against it. But the one game I played, I just remember feeling frustrated. I didn't remember feeling like it was a fun tactical game. So just that, those are my thoughts going into the game. Just really wasn't looking forward to it. I didn't realize it at the time, but sometime during turn one, my opponent realized I was once bitten, and I realized he was Lord Inquisitor. So that was just kind of funny. It's a battle line game. You can get, I think, 250 victory points if you kill more Lord and Hero level characters than your opponent does, and you can get another 250 if you destroy a whole unit in the Magic phase, or something like that, things like that. So you can get a few extra points. So starting on the right, he's got Furies and a Fiend. Then he's got the Soul Grinder, which is not in the book. It's the edition that came, one of the new editions that are available to the demons through the White Dwarf. So I have no idea about this thing. I kept on asking him, so, what are its stats? What does it do? He's got a Chariot. Beautiful unit of Demonettes. That portal in the background is actually a unit filler. So it's 6 by 5, 30 strong. A really cool conversion with the Demonettes kind of emerging out of this portal. He's got the mask. Nah, I don't like the mask. Then he's got a Keeper of Secrets built, as you can see. And then he's got a Herald level 1 Death Lore Master, so that's kind of nice. And then he's got another unit of Demonettes, this one's smaller with Banner of Ecstasy. And then he's got a unit of Seekers with his Battle Standard Bearer, with, of course, the great icon of Despair. So on the left, I knew I was going to castle on the right, so I threw some bowmen over here to the left to try to, misdirect them just a little bit. I vanguarded my peg knights and my fast cav up. What I'd really, really like to do is get a charge off on the mask. And so what I was thinking was, I know he has a Siren Song, that he would probably mess with one of these units and force him to charge or flee as general, but I'd still have another unit available to charge the mask and maybe get lucky. In hindsight, I didn't realize the mask is actually pretty tough in combat. I don't think those fast cav had a chance at all against him anyway. But the other mistake I made was that the fast cav were within easy charge reach of that chariot. So kind of dumb. Anyway, behind him I have my men-at-arms with the damsel, which means they also have a ward save. So my thinking is I put them as you can see them, and then my plan is to kind of reform them to the left to serve as an anchor for my line so the Seekers don't just come down my flank. Then I've got Knights of the Realm with my two Paladins. The Green Knight there is he's a tank. He's got, I believe, a 1-up rerollable, but he's weapon skill 10, so he's just harder to wound. Of course, my BSB. Then I've got my Prophetess outside of a unit. She's going to join I don't know why I put her outside of a unit, but she's going to join a unit here real soon. I got my Knights Errant with my General, so I put him in front of the Soul Grinder. Men-at-Arms, Trebuchet, Knights of the Realm. So my thinking here was I'm going to ignore the Furies. I really couldn't stop them anyway. They can get my Chariot. They can get my Trebuchet on turn 3. That's okay. I'd like my Knights of the Realm to go up, take care of that Fiend, and then turn to face down his flank. I'd like my Knights Errant to charge out and kill that Soul Grinder and turn and be facing down his flank. And then I'd like these Men-at-Arms to reform and step behind the Knights Errant and form that wall. So I'm looking at really kind of not really swinging my army as much as pivoting my army to the left, because I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to be facing each other diagonal, or even more extreme than that. So we go to Demons turn 1, and even with all that thinking and planning, I was totally unprepared for the speed of this army. Those Seekers can absolutely fly. So his Chariot charges my fast cav. I realize he needs to roll like a 7 or an 8 on 3 dice. So I flee with the fast cav. Realize that was just a dumb mistake, and now he's going to Siren Song my Peg Knights, and that's just ugly. Yeah, there's that. So the problem making this battle report is that in a game like this, it seemed like, especially here on turn one, a lot of what was going on was in the magic phase, and you can't really capture that with photos. But I had to stop Doom and Darkness. I had to stop Phantasmagora. It took all my dice and my Dispel Scroll. I think the only spell that went through is my Men-at-Arms unit that you can see now suffers stupidity for the rest of the game, which normally isn't a big deal, but with the Leadership Bomb build, that means they're going to fail it. So they're not going to be able to charge much or do anything else. And the only good news is they won't have to take fear tests. But, yeah, whatever. So we go to Bretonnia turn one. So he Siren Songs my Peg Knights. So the Peg Knights, I opt just to flee, because otherwise it was just going to sacrifice them. The gamble I was making is they fled through my lines. So my Men-at-Arms, my BSB's unit, my General's unit, my Prophetess, who at the time was outside of a unit, and my Men-at-Arms unit on the far right all had to take panic tests. And being turn one, of course, they fail it, they're probably going to be off the board. So the chance I was taking was I was Leadership 9 rerollable, and I ended up passing all of them. I think it was my General's unit. One or two of the units I failed the first time, and so it was a little bit gut-wrenching on that second roll. Like, yeah, I should roll 9 or less, but if I don't, they're off the table. And if I would have lost, if I would have lost 2 units, or like my BSB's unit, I mean, that's the game right there. And, what a brilliant tactical victory that would have been, right? But luckily they all passed, so that was nice. The funny thing is my fast cav on the left are leadership 6, and with the Great Icon of Despair, they're leadership 4 with the musicians. So they needed a 5 to rally, and they rallied. So I was able to move up so that the Seekers could not charge my Men-at-Arms quite yet. I didn't appreciate that. I thought I'd be kind of keeping them there. I didn't realize with fast cav how they could. I knew what they could do as fast cav, but I didn't appreciate how far they can move. So they can just zip right around my fast cav and get. They can't charge, but they can still move into my flank. So wasn't prepared for that. Had I thought about that, I would have maneuvered the Men-at-Arms. Maybe I would have positioned them elsewise so that they could, not allow the Seekers into their flank. Anyway, there's a look at that. Look at this. My General's unit charged. His Soul Grinder failed their charge, so things look like that. During the magic phase, I got the Curse of Honor here off on this unit, so now if they do want to march and get in my flank, that's going to cost him a third of a unit, which should be 3 of those guys, maybe 2 if he passes the ward saves he should pass. So, there's something. I landed a Trebuchet Rock on the head of his Keeper of Secrets, and I was really excited about that. And it get past his ward save, which I was really excited about, and then I rolled a 1. Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Oh well. But at least it's 1 wound on him. And we go to Demon's turn 2. And yeah, so Leadership Bomb has now been put in place. He has his mask up within 12 inches of my Battle Standard Bearers unit, so he's going to lower their leadership. It's going to be by 2. The Seekers zip around. He only fails 1 dangerous terrain test. You fail it on 1 or 2 with the spell, so he only lost 1. He should have failed 3, but whatever. But he also failed it on his Herald, so that's nice. So the Great Icon of Despair is on a character who's sitting on 1 wound left, and you never know what could happen in combat. So that actually was pretty nice. He charged his General into my Battle Standard Bearers unit and failed that charge, which was nice. More importantly, his Demonettes, his Chariot, and his Soul Grinder all tried to charge my General's unit. And that would have been huge. If the Demonettes would have made it, that alone would have been huge, because that's just a lot of static combat res. But he needed a high roll for the Demonettes and for the Chariot, so I wasn't surprised that they failed. The Soul Grinder did not need much. I think he only needed 6, and he failed it. And I was really bummed about that, because I really wanted the Soul Grinder to make it. I felt that I would more than likely get a Heroic Killing Blow off with my General, just because I'd be wounding on, I believe, 6s, and I get to reroll failed rolls to wound. So I have a lot of chances to get that. And then I could have got that off the table and reformed and then charged, his Chariot or something like that, and gotten out of his charge arc of his Demonettes. So I was really bummed that the Soul Grinder failed its charge. So here's what's going on the left. There's that. And yeah, so when he does charge in, my Men-at-Arms will be steadfast, but steadfast on a Watt. you know. So if the mask has my BSB's unit down 2 leadership or down 3, I mean, it could be anything, right? So they're leadership 6, Great Icon of Despair, you're now at leadership 4. Probably my best bet would be my Damsels leadership 7, it'd still be -2, so they'll be steadfast on a 5 rerollable. That's not the kind of thing you want to bank on. So there's just some more views. We go to Bretonnia turn 2. So my general charges the Soul Grinder. The BSB's unit charged the Fiend that was redirecting them. My men-at-arms do nothing, so my guess is I failed my stupidity test, so they just stumble forward. I go ahead and turn my archers so they can shoot at the mask. They fail their swift reform, so it ended up being a moot point. But I didn't think there was anything to be gained by facing the Demonettes. If the Demonettes charge them, they're going to win. I mean, I can't win that, so I thought it was worth giving a try. It's going to be tough to kill the mask with this peasant shooting, but you never know. So here's a BSB charging the Fiend. I'm not worried about losing that. Here's this. The general was not able to get heroic killing blow off. He did 2 wounds on it. My other knights errant did 1 wound. The Soul Grinder did no wounds to me. And for some inexplicable reason, I forgot to reform. Because I know I'm going to get countercharged by his chariot and his demonettes. If I could reform, still keeping 3 knights in base contact with this guy, it really, really would have saved me a lot of combat res. It would have made a huge difference. And I don't know what I was thinking. I'm always thinking about reforming. So after combat, yeah, the Fiend's dead. Go to Demons turn 3. And this is where things get so dicey. His general charges in. First of all, that's a terror test, and I'm -4 leadership. So, yeah. So, sorry about that. I'm -4 leadership. So, I'm really lucky I didn't run off the board. I might be within 12 inches of my general, in which case I'm still at 5 rerollable, and that's nothing you want to take, and I passed it. So, amazing. Yeah, he gets the chariot and the demonettes into the flank of my general's unit. That's not going to go well for me. His seekers come into the flank of the men-at-arms. He's going to win. I'm going to be steadfast. The question is, can I pass a 5 rerollable? And if not, the seekers are going to charge into the flank of my BSB's unit, and that will be the game. So, yeah, the demonettes charge the bowman. That's not going to affect anything. He moved his mask out of range of my peg knights, just in case things go wrong, and didn't want my peg knights charging her. And here, this is obviously I'm taking loads of pictures because I'm just scared to death. I really think this is pretty much the last turn of any significance. Furies charge the trebuchet, and they're going to overrun into the rear of my peg knights, which I think my peg knights can win that, but it'll tie them up. And this, I can't believe I didn't reform. What was I thinking? Yeah, so I pretty much just offered him my general's unit. And overall, it looks like that. And then after combat, this was just absolutely amazing. So first off, we do the peasant combat, and he wins. I'm steadfast on a 5 rerollable, and I pass. And that is absolutely huge. I wasn't able to reform, but they did their job. So that made so the Seekers did not help with the charge to my Battle Standard Bearers unit. Well, during my last magic phase, I got the Curse of Honor here off on his general, so he lost a wound charging into my guys. I issue a challenge with my Green Knight because I'm weapon skill 10 and have a 1-up rerollable armor save. And he ends up killing him. I don't even know if he did any extra wounds to him, but basically I won combat just through sheer combat res, and he ended up taking another wound. So this general's actually sitting on I believe 3 wounds remaining. So that's nice. And then, so my general gets heroic killing blow off on the Soul Grinder. His guys go to town. I think that chariot especially go to town on my knights errant. I lose most of the unit. I easily break from combat, and I get away, which is fantastic. 2, the chariot hits the woods, fails its dangerous terrain test, and takes 4 wounds and dies, which was absolutely amazing. And then his demonettes try to restrain so they could block the men-at-arms from countercharging the flank of his general, and they fail it and have to pursue my general. And not only do they open up the way for the men-at-arms, they open up themselves to a flank charge by my Knights of the Realm. And then, miracle of all miracles, if you look at the lower right, the Furies don't break the trebuchet. They do 2 wounds, he wins combat, and they actually pass. I think I got Snake Eyes or a 3. Whatever I needed, they actually pass. Everything went right for the Bretonnians this turn. And the irony is, the leadership bomb build is such that everything has to go right, or else you need one of those things doesn't happen and it makes a huge difference everywhere else. Everything went right for this. Absolutely crazy. The bowman died, so I was willing to concede that unit. This again, oh my gosh, I could have kissed those men-at-arms. I was so happy with them. And yeah, way to go, Trebuchet. I mean, that doesn't make a huge difference because, like I said, I can't see his herald. I can't see the mask. I'm out of distance, out of range for the mask. But what I can do is I can charge the Seekers, and I might be able to assassinate that herald. And that is very, very nice. So on my turn, the general's unit rallies, which is nice. They're not going to contribute much for the rest of the game, but I save all those points. The Peg Knights charge the Seekers. The men-at-arms charge the flank of his general. And what I need now is for him, I'm going to issue a challenge with my champion. So, he's got 7 attacks, which, as an aside, I would just like to say that I think it's shameful that Games Workshop does not FAQ whether or not he should have 7 attacks or 6 attacks. So I never argue about it. I think it can be argued both ways, whatever. But he's got 7 attacks, re-rolling to hit. He is -1 to hit, but who cares? He's re-rolling to hit. I've got an armor save and a ward save. I need him to do relatively few wounds to my champion. I'm going to fight the I'm going to fight the Peg Knight battle first. If I can kill the BSB, and if his general can't do too many wounds to my champion, I have a chance to pop him through combat res if he just rolls high enough on his break test. Up top, my Knights of the Realm charge the flank of the Demonettes. I think my opponent's kind of worried about that. I know that I have no chance at all of popping that unit. I'm going to win this combat round. I'm hoping he won't be able to reform. As long as I can stay in his flank, I have a chance. But he's got 30 models there. I can't pop him. So there's a close-up of that. Here's a close-up of this. I think he's sitting on only 3 wounds remaining. And I'm going to have a charge, a flank, a banner, and 3 ranks. So I'm starting at 6. The whole thing is, 1, can I minimize the number of wounds he does on my champion through making saves? And 2, can I hope for a relatively high roll on his break test? And there's that. There's only 1 Peg Knight in combat because his movement trays makes it seem like there'd be 2, but there's only 1. So I've got a rank and file Peg Knight who's going to go against this herald. I've got a human attack, 2 pegs as attacks. If I can do 1 wound, that's huge. And I need to throw some more gold stars on the table. So the Peg Knights charge in. The 1 Peg Knight does kill the herald. I still lose combat just because he kills so many dang men-at-arms. So my Peg Knights are not steadfast. They flee, and the angle of it just takes them off the table. The men-at-arms are steadfast, but this time there's no -2. So they're at 7 rerollable, and they pass it and are able to reform. The Keeper of Secrets kills my champion, but I don't know how many extra wounds he did. Not enough. He rolled high on his break test and popped. Oh, things just turned around for the Bretonnians. Two good turns in a row. So what I'm looking at here is the next round of combat, my men-at-arms are likely to break. They probably won't get away, but they should bounce through my BSB's unit, and then I should be able to charge his Seekers. Even if the Seekers get a charge of my BSB's unit, I'm not really worried about it. The men-at-arms reform to face the rear of the Demonettes unit, and now, now I actually could see winning that grind. And I'm inviting Lord Inquisitor to respond to this, but I'm going to call him out a little bit. I really think at this point he saw that the slow grind was going to be won by the Bretonnians. I think he started slow playing a little bit. For as experienced and as good a player as he is, he took 10 10 minutes, 15 minutes for his movement phase, and probably 10, 15 minutes on his magic phase. Couldn't decide on that one spell he wanted to cast. Yeah, but I think, yeah, whatever. I'm calling him out. He's welcome to respond and say that I'm full of it. Uh, Here's another look at it. Furies finish off the trebuchet. That's expected. And we go to his turn. So he moves the Furies up so the Men-at-Arms cannot charge through the Demonettes. I think that's a great move. He charges Mask into the rear of the Men-at-Arms, and I didn't get that at all. I really thought that I would win that combat because he has a charge in the rear. I've got 3 ranks and a banner, so I'm starting off at 1. So my guess is he was thinking that he should win it. I'd be steadfast, and he'd have a chance of breaking me, and my chance of killing him is slim to none. Then he moves, as you can see, and yeah, there's that. And then we go to the magic phase. He sends the template through my Knights of the Realm and through my Men-at-Arms, taking, I believe, initiative tests or die. I think that's the test you take. And yeah, killed 3 Knights. Then I failed my panic. Of course, they're -3 leadership, so they were sitting on a 5 rerollable. So they fled, and then my Men-at-Arms just got torn up. So I lost like 16 there. Then he got all these extra dice. He got an irresistible force, by the way. So yeah, that made a huge difference. And once that happened, then I was glad that we don't have time for another turn after this, because now I think things just swung back towards the Demons. With all his extra power dice, he does another, I forget which spell, but Lore of Death, and snipes my BSB. So he gets those points. And now I'm really glad the game's going to end. After combat, he breaks and runs down the Men-at-Arms with my Damsel. His Mask breaks the steadfast of the Men-at-Arms, but they get away, thank goodness. And the Demonettes and the Knights of the Realm, of course, are just locked in combat. So the game ended up being like that, and it ends up being a 14-6 victory for the Bretonnians. I got an extra 250 victory points because I killed more character points worth of stuff than he killed on mine. And then as far as extra victory points, that's all either one of us got. So, it ended up being a really fun game. I think both of us had fun with it. I certainly did. But then again, I had 2 turns in a row where I just had a lot of things really go my way. So, yeah, 14-6 victory against the player who's been crushing everybody. I'll take it. And Lord Inquisitor, to his credit, he's been... rumor has it that the last 7 GTs he's attended, he has won 4 of them. So I'll take a victory. I'll take a victory and say thank you very much. Now, the thing that really surprised me is I really thought after that, because I had extra comp bonuses and with everything else going into it, that I won best overall, and I didn't. Lord Inquisitor won it by 3 points, best overall. So now he's won 5 of the last 8 GTs he's attended. Kudos to him. I was 3rd place best general. Lord Inquisitor was 1st. He actually couldn't win the prize, of course, because he won best overall, so whatever. So I missed best general by 5 points. Took 2nd place best hobbyist. And between all those things, yeah, I won nothing. 2nd place is first loser, but that's okay. It was a real fun tournament. I enjoyed it. I'll take 2nd place overall. I don't take that for granted. It's tough to be there. I had a lot of things go my way. So, yeah, but that was it. Hope you enjoyed it.